Hi everyone, and welcome to Watercolors with Jaylene. And for today's tutorial, we're going to do a cute little pumpkin for the fall season. And before we get started, I would like to ask you to subscribe and like my YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. That really helps my station grow, and I appreciate it. So for today's tutorial, I will go over the supplies list real quick. I have a piece of watercolor paper, some clean water, my Winsor & Newton watercolor paints. I also have my mechanical pencil, eraser, and I'm using my number 8 round brush. And then I also have my Micron 05 nib permanent marker. And then of course a piece of paper towel for blotting if I need it. So for today's tutorial, we'll start out real quick with just a piece of watercolor paper. And I like to draw my pumpkin first with a pencil, just so that I get a nice round ovalness to it. Sometimes I can get a little off center with that. So before I start, when I'm drawing this, it's not centered because I do have a little more space up there, and then also a little space at the bottom to kind of draw or paint in a shadow. So I'm going to start. I do want to make sure that it's centered this way, but not necessarily this way. And so I just kind of go around. And then if I don't draw this exactly the way I want it, when I'm using my marker, I can always firm it up at that point. Okay, so there is the outline. And then I will be drawing the details in before I actually start to paint. So while I'm doing the outline of the pumpkin, I'm not using full pressure on my marker. I'm leaving it rather light. And you'll kind of see how I do that. And then I have to turn my paper as I'm doing the oval for the pumpkin, just to make sure that I get it the way I want it. And you can see I'm doing it very lightly. If you want to do it a little heavier, that's up to you. You know, make it your own. And then draw in the stem. And I like to put a couple little highlights there. And then I'm going to draw in these sprigs. It's kind of like sprigs of greenery, you know, kind of like leaves, but not really. Okay, and I like to make them very long and light as well. Everything, I like to do it very lightweight with my pen. I don't want any solid, harsh, dark lines. So then I like to put in a few little dots around the center of that, and then just kind of going out on some of these. And as you go out, make them further apart. And so then I'm going to just draw in a couple of eyes. This is such a basic design, and it's so cute, and it's fast. So that my eyes and mouth, and then my nose, I just kind of do a little bit of a part of a triangle. Okay, so I color in the eyes with my marker because it is a permanent marker. So when I go to paint everything, I don't have to worry about this bleeding into the paint. Whereas if I were to use black paint, then, you know, that would be a little more difficult. So it's just quicker and easier. And, you know, to do a fun little design like this, that's what we want, is quick and easy. And they're a lot of fun to do. Everybody loves them. So then we want to put in a couple of eyebrows. And then we'll color in the mouth. I guess this is kind of a oh my gosh expression, right? It'd be fun to do a whole series of pumpkins and maybe use the different expressions that emojis have. That'd make a real cute display. And then around the outside of this, a couple of, what shall we call those, laugh lines. Now I do put a few light lines through here, as pumpkins have those sections that are kind of, when it grows, they're sectioned off. So I kind of want to make that visible on here. And then also just do a little bit of shading. And on the shading, we come down, not all the way, but just about part way, halfway, I should say. And very lightly through the top, almost giving it bangs. And then down the other side, and very lightly. And then same thing around the bottom. And doing this very light shading, it gives the pumpkin a little bit of depth. So it's not just a flat looking pumpkin. So then those lines that I had mentioned, kind of lightly draw those in. And then on the bottom for the shadow, just a couple of light lines, and they get much thinner as you go away from the pumpkin. You want just a couple on each side, very lightly. Okay, so as far as drawing the pumpkin, that's it. That quick and that easy. So I'm going to use my eraser and just get rid of any of those light pencil lines that I do have in there. Okay, perfect. So now I will take my number 8 round brush, and what I'm going to do first is just very lightly put water over the entire pumpkin, because when I put the paint on, I do want it to blend a little bit, and you'll see what I'm saying in just a moment here. Okay, so just very lightly with water. We don't want it gobbed on there, but we do want a little bit. So I'm going to take my cadmium orange and go through, and it's fairly light, and that's what we want to start with. You know, just a light orange to put a little bit of color over the entire pumpkin. And I know I've mentioned it in other videos, but I'll go ahead and mention it again. As watercolor paints dry, they do have a tendency to lighten up. So keep that in mind as you're painting. Okay, so I do have the orange over the entire thing. Now I'm going to take a little bit heavier amount of orange on my brush and just go along the top and down a little bit on either side, and then along the bottom and up a little bit along the edges. Whoop. And that way, because we had put water over the entire face originally, it's going to blend as it dries. It'll blend a little bit. So I did go outside the line. That's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, if there are a few little blemishes here and there, that's even better. It just adds character. So while we're waiting for that to dry, I'm going to go ahead and do the shadow below. And for the shadow, I'm just using a little bit of burnt sienna, and I'm just kind of lightly painting it in. I'm not following any lines. They're just there as accent. And so I put just a little bit more paint on my brush because I do want it a little bit darker in areas. Okay, so look, there we go. All right, that's perfect. Okay, and now for the, let's see, what is that? A little eraser mark. Okay, so for the stem and the greenery, I'm going to be using Hooker's Green. And we're going to, what I'm going to do is just kind of do some brush strokes throughout, and I'm not following any of these lines. I'm just adding a little bit of color. Okay, that's perfect. And then for the stem itself, let me get just a little bit more green on here. Do a quick color in on that. And while that's still a little wet, I'm going to dab just a little bit more of the green down towards the base so that it can give it a little bit of definition there as well. So that really is it for the entire pumpkin. See how quick and easy that was? These are so much fun, and there's so many different things that you can do with them. I want to give this a minute to dry because I do want to add a little bit of sparkle to it, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. So while that's drying, I wanted to show you, this is just a little easel, a little wooden easel that I had picked up at a store somewhere, I'm not even sure where. So to display it on there, you just clip it on. And then also, I have one that I've put in a frame, which I've shown you how to do framing, quick and easy framing in one of my other videos. And you know, if you go to the hobby store and buy just one of these little frames, you can do these quick little paintings in here. Say you have a pumpkin in here for the fall and Halloween, then you can switch it out for the Christmas or Thanksgiving, and you can use the same frame and just switch it out for all the holidays with your cute little paintings in there. One of my upcoming paintings tutorials is going to be of a spider web with some spiders in it, and that's more for the Halloween season. That'd be darling in here also. So I'm going to put that aside, and I think this now is dry enough that I can go ahead and add my little bit of sparkle to it. So this is just a glitter glue that I buy at the craft store. And for any of my seasonal and holiday themes, I love to put just a little bit of glitter on them. It just adds a little bit of spark, of course. And so for this, I'm just going real quick through the greenery, real quick down each side, and it doesn't have to be right on the line. And then just a couple little drops throughout the shadow. And I don't think you can see it really well on this video, but in real life it just adds a little bit of pop, and it's a lot of fun. So that is it for this video. Quick, easy little pumpkin. And until next time, ciao for now.